Hi everyone, it's Ross Anderson here from the Australian and New Zealand Boutique Wine Show. And this is episode number 11 of Meet the Boutique Winemakers. And this is, of course, the trophy edition. We've done a lot of interviews in the last week or so post the 2020 ANZ Boutique Wine Show, which was held around about 3 weeks ago. And it's been a really busy time, but it's been awesome talking to all the amazing small winemakers across Australia and New Zealand. The Boutique Wine Show is celebrating 25 years of supporting the small winemakers of Australia and New Zealand. And as always, the aim of these interviews is to inform, educate, and entertain you on all things boutique, and to share the stories and the personalities behind the brands, which are the heartbeat of Australian and New Zealand wine. Now, on to today's interview. And the Hilltops region of New South Wales has always had a reputation for producing quality fruit. Ballinaclash, Orchard, and Cellar Door was originally established by Michael and Bernie Mullany as a cherry and stone fruit orchard in 1965. And this farm supplied fresh fruit to the Sydney markets for quite some time. Cath and Peter Mullany took over from Peter's parents in 1997, and vines were planted. The orchard changed direction, and instead of sending their fresh fruit to market, Ballinaclash became a destination for the public to visit and pick your own fruit. Alongside the fruit business, the vines have flourished, with Ballinaclash recently winning top honours at the New South Wales Wine Awards and the Hilltops Wine Awards. And I'm joined this morning from Young by Mrs. Cath Mullany. Let's just patch her in.
Hello
Good morning,
there.
Cath. How are you? Are you well?
Thank you, Ross. How are you going?
Really well for Monday. A couple of coffees in, kids are off to school, everything's good. How are things down in your beautiful part of the world?
Well, they're very busy, actually. Like you mentioned, we actually are, apart from growing grapes, we grow cherries, and we're right in the bang smack in the middle of our cherry season. So we're actually quite frantic at the moment, but that's a good thing. It's a good problem to have, to be busy with people coming to pick cherries.
Absolutely. It's very exciting. It always feels like Christmas when you see the cherries on the stalls and you can get availability to them. I bought some yesterday. I'm really excited about that. But Cath, tell us, what did you do during lockdown? Did they have any impact on the Ballinaclash operation? Did you do anything new during that lockdown period?
Well, we did really. We had always decided that we'd open. We traditionally were open just through the cherry season, so that we had a really short period of time. And over the years, we have tried to diversify, which is where the whole growing grapes and wine came in. And we decided we'd open Fridays, Saturdays, and Sundays throughout the year as well. So we started to do that, and then of course COVID bumped in, and we closed down, as most people did. But then by the June long weekend, we thought, no, hang on, we're going to do this, and we opened up again Fridays, Saturdays, and Sundays, and offered various wine tasting experiences, and they were far more structured than we'd ever done before. But it actually turned out to be great for us, but also I feel great for the people that came and tried the wine. So all the rules of having to sit down, you really engage with a customer when you sit down and speak to them. We enjoyed it, and I think the customers did too. And our wine sales reflected that the customers were enjoying the experience. And we started offering platters, and Hilltops grows amazing grapes, and it produces a lot of amazing food. And it was because we grow a lot of other fruits and things, and we make our own products, we were able to showcase not only what we make and with our wines, but also our fantastic local products. And there's not, it was a pleasure really to be able to do that.
Absolutely. And it's funny you say that that change in cellar door protocol where people are sitting down, it is benefiting the business. I'm hearing that from everyone I've talked to. There's not one person that said it's been a bad thing. And I think this is the new norm, and I think it's great. And business is moving forward. Do you think consumer confidence is returning?
I do, and I mean, I thought it was even through the year went before cherries. I was surprised at how many people were moving around. I mean, I think people felt reasonably safe coming out to regional areas, and they often commented on how cautious we all were out here, which I guess was a good thing. But we are not only protecting ourselves, but our communities that have been so lucky throughout this whole period. But cherry time blew our socks off, with the number of people feeling confident moving around again. I mean, they're out in the paddock, so it's, reasonably safe. When they come in for their cherry ice creams, it's a bit, I've got to put on my COVID marshal hat. But there's definitely a confidence in moving around, for sure. And it's, the advantage of having the cherries as well is we're getting these people now that we're able to showcase our wine because we get this crowd coming in cherry time. So that's a real bonus for us.
Absolutely. Cath, let's move on to the big news. So as we mentioned in the intro, your Cabernet has picked up top honours at the New South Wales Wine Awards just a few weeks ago, and the Hilltops Wine Awards, and now it is trophy wine for the Australian and New Zealand Boutique Wine Show for 2020, and this is one amazing wine. So massive congratulations to you and the team over there. This is the Tom Cabernet 19. What a wonderful wine. I remember the judges' deliberation on that. There was about 100 Cabernets entered, and you can see it all filtering through, and then multiple repours and multiple repours and multiple repours. Came out top every single time. So amazing result. Congratulations. Can you tell us a little bit about the 19 and the Tom? I'm just going to pop it up on the screen here.
Yeah, so look, obviously we were very excited about, we were excited when we got the news that we'd won, best trophy for best Cabernet at our little Hilltops wine show. We're up against our wines that we know are of a very good calibre and very familiar with the wines we're up against. And then the same week, it was the New South Wales Wine Awards. And then when we got the gong for Australian New Zealand Boutique Wine Award, of course, it was great. So our reds have been consistently doing extremely well. They're classic Hilltops. It's a classic Hilltops Cabernet, with the dark berry. It was grown in a very dry season. So we were basically in drought. So there was no issues with, one advantage of a drought is there's no issues with disease, which was a great thing. You have the intensity of flavour, a lowish yield. We're blessed to have irrigation, so we could water when we had to without, compromising the grapes, obviously. But part of the Hilltops growing area is, that a diurnal ripening season where we have the hot days but the cooler nights. So we're always going to get those intense berry flavours, but that year was being dry, I think a little bit more. We probably got about 3 tonne to the acre with the Cabernet. So it was, just a medium. That's what 3 to 4 tonne would be an average cropping for us. So, on the lower side, which again, obviously intensified flavours.
Absolutely. If I pop down to your beautiful cellar door and I'm sitting down doing a structured tasting and you're pouring this wine into the glass, what are you telling the consumer? What are those flavour profiles that distinguish your Cabernet?
Yeah, so I think for such a young wine, the smooth, the velvety tannins, I think, stand out. Like, it's got these beautiful, lush tannins. But I mean, before all that, you do get that lovely dark berry cassis kind of rich flavour. And for a wine that is, hasn't got the age, it's drinking remarkably well. But because it is young too, you still get those lovely forward fruit flavours. Yeah.
Cath, I saw the Cabernets that your Cabernet was up against. I saw the calibre of the wines from across Australia and New Zealand, and some of the picks coming out of Coonawarra, which should generally be a shoe-in, and you did amazingly well. So massive congratulations.
Yeah. Thanks, Ross. And that kind of blows our socks off too, because we know, we do know that we don't take that lightly. We are terribly excited about it.
Cath, tell us a bit about you. Tell us a bit about your personal story, your journey in wine, and I guess in fruit, and where that all started. What's your background?
So I'm actually a city girl. I grew up in Sydney, and I'm also I am a school teacher. I don't do a lot of teaching now because I spend most of my time here. But I moved to the country. My plan was classic, a couple of years go to the country for a bit of fun, and of course fell in love with the local shearer. And that's how Pete and I got together. And then after we were out west, we came back to Young, where Pete's family obviously were, and had this cherry farm. So we moved here. We have 6 children, so we raised our children here. They're great little, they're great grape growers and grape tire-uppers and thinners, and they can do the whole kit and caboodle. And they are still now. They're obviously young adults, but they still are very much a part of our show. But so there's a few of them there that you can see. That's half the clan. With the, I suppose we did less and less teaching. As we diversified, I guess I became more involved. I mean, we were just wholesale cherry growers, and then we was wholesale. We planted our grapes in 97 and we sold our grapes off farm until 2005. And it was because of the diversification. We planted the grapes in 97. We thought, well, hang on, let's have a go at doing this, and put in a cellar door once we started making grapes. So 2005, we started making our own wine under Ballinaclash label, and we got Chris Derez and Lucy Maddox, a star team, to make our wine from Madrez Wines in Orange. And they have been making our reds ever since and done an amazing job. We think we are so lucky to have them as our winemakers. We think we're pretty good grape growers, but I think you need both. You need good grapes and you need fantastic winemakers. Having said that, we also get some other people to make some of our other wines. And it's often people we sell our grapes to. So that works really well too. And we've got some other great winemakers as well.
And so the Ballinaclash is established in 1965 by Peter's parents. And as I mentioned in the intro, it's initially a cherry farm and a stone fruit orchard.
Yep.
And then you take it over in 1997. But what were the motivating factors that put the vineyards into your peripheral vision and made you decide to go down that path?
Yeah, so there were people planting grapes in this area and growing some pretty good grapes. So it was on our radar. Pete's brother, Brian Mullany, is a grape grower, and he's got Grove Estate in Young, and they were there. And I mean, not the grapes were new to Young, they were growing. I think the Dalmatians planted them in the 1800s, and then they kind of got forgotten about. And it was only when Peter Robertson sort of came in, I think he was the pioneer, the new pioneer of grape growing in the Hilltops. But so there were grapes being planted, and it fitted in very well with our business model, because when we were just growing cherries, we ran the risk, and it happened where there's such a fickle thing to grow. You can lose your crop in a 10-minute hailstorm, and that's your annual income. So we needed to diversify. And part of that diversification was, well, let's plant the grapes. Initially, we were to sell off farm. And then we kind of realised that these grapes were pretty good. So why don't we put in the farm gate shop and the cellar door, a commercial kitchen, start cooking, start making wine, and going down a different path. We now do not wholesale one cherry out of the farm. It's all pick your own and from our farm gate shop. And people come to us, and luckily now we've got this great wine as part of our package.
And correct me if I'm wrong here, but I was on your website just getting a feel for the operation, and it looks like everything is sold out in terms of you sell allocated time slots for people to come down to the farm to pick, and It looks like they are filling up rapidly. I don't think there's any available. Is that correct?
That's correct, and that's actually been a COVID thing. We used to have bookings, but with COVID, we decided we needed to kind of control our numbers, because we knew we did have biggish numbers coming. So, and we, put up fairly generous, we thought, numbers, but they are sold. They just keep selling out. We've been inundated with people. But again, it's a great opportunity to showcase what we do. It's a good problem to have.
Absolutely. Cath, what would you say would be the highlights reel of the last 23 odd years with Ballinaclash?
Well, just in terms of, this is my husband, Peter, who's just decided to pop in.
Morning, Peter. How are you?
This is Ross.
Please meet you, Ross.
Just interrogating Cath.
That's right. A highlight, I don't know if it's a highlight, but a funny thing did happen in terms of wine shows. We had the what was the Edward Shiraz? 2016 Edward Shiraz. And we got a call up to say, you better come across to the awards ceremony, and we thought, oh, that's exciting, we've got an award, that's good, we must have won a trophy. So we went over all excited because we got a trophy, and went there and collected it from all the people that hand out trophies and things. Went back to our spot, very excited, standing at the back amongst all these people who we knew were significant people in the wine industry, and who also made fantastic grapes, feeling quite pleased with ourselves. Anyway, then next thing it was trophy for best red wine of the show, and they called Ballinaclash. Well, we were beside ourselves. We couldn't believe it. So up we went, thinking, what do we do with our trophy? So put it down. then went up to the back. We were like two little school kids giggling with our trophies going, can you believe this? We just got this red wine at the show against all these, and we knew who we were against. And then we weren't even listening. Someone in front of us turned around and said, it's you again. And they said, champion wine of the show. And we couldn't believe it. So we went up. It was like little kids, wasn't it? And we jumped in the Uber afterwards. We was giggling and carrying on. Like, it was just the best thing and everyone's going, who are they? Which was sort of fun too, like, because we were an unknown. So we kind of like that. We're going to see it's 5 minutes of fame, really. But that week, that Edward Shiraz won 7 trophies in a week. And that was a pretty big highlight for us. I mean, you know what it is to get a trophy at a wine show.
Absolutely.
But it won, New South Wales Small Winemakers, Cool Climate. There were 7 of them. Yeah.
What was the vintage on that, the Edward?
The 16, did you say? 2016.
2016. Yeah. Ross, is it still up on the website? We'd have a record of its awards anyway.
Yeah. We're not very good marketers.
Oh, we're getting there.
But you're great at what you do. I mean, the results speak for themselves. So,
yeah.
Cath, what would you say? What would you say are the biggest challenges that you face out at Ballinaclash?
I actually think marketing is one, but also juggling. Because we do, it's if we're trying to grow premium grapes, we want to grow premium fruit actually. So we've got a 5-month harvest season starting with the grapes. And then we starting with the cherries, going into stone fruit, sugar plums, and then cherries. So it's a long stone fruits and cherry and grape season. And then now that we're opening through the year and trying to promote the wine more, that we're getting, we know we're getting good results and we want to push the wine a bit more and make it a little bit more and sell a bit more, obviously. But it's becoming a 12-month a year, pretty much full-time job. So we've got to the point now where, and we're not getting any younger, trying to get that balance, I think. We have one of our sons has come home to work full-time, which has been fantastic, and the other kids come and go a bit, and we're hoping that maybe 1 or 2 more of them might come and join the team as a permanent thing.
Sure. Sounds exciting. It sounds like it's on the up, absolutely. Yeah. Cath, and Pete, can you tell us a bit about the other wines in your portfolio? From what I can tell, you make 6 wines. A Thomas Cabernet, a John and Joe Shiraz, a Missy Viognier, and then there was it the Edward as well you just mentioned?
Yeah, so we make, originally we grew Cabernet, Shiraz, Viognier and Chardonnay. And so we're always sort of doing those ones. But we are starting to grow. We had a Touriga, which we actually sold out of yesterday, our 2018 Ned Touriga, and it actually won top gold at the International Cool Climate Wine Show. But then 2019, we were in a drought. It actually ironically rained at harvest. We started to make it at ferment. We're just a little bit compromised. We weren't sure, but because we had this amazing first vintage Touriga, we ditched it. And then last year, unfortunately, we did the same thing. It was the best of our bad smoke taint results. So we thought we'll give the Touriga a go. Got to ferment and thought, no, we can't compromise the quality of what we're doing. So we've only had the 2018 Ned Touriga, which has done incredibly well and was a beautiful wine. And now we're looking forward to 2021 Touriga. But we've also been planting. We've got Fiano. We'll have a Riesling next year. What are the other varieties?
Grenache, Nebbiolo, Sangiovese. We just, Ross, the Italian variety is very popular, the Southern European. So, look, we grow, what we've done all our lives, we grow in our stone fruit. We're quite varied, but we're not big in any one particular area. So we grow a little bit of everything and not much of anything. So 40 acres of grapes total. But for those 4 varieties Cath mentioned in 97 to 2000 we planted, and then a few new plantings and a bit of regrafting. Then we bought another block 5 years ago of 20-year-old vines, all Cab. Another 20 metres elevation, beautiful red soil, hilltop sort of Palmer soil, about 4 or 5 kilometres from us. So that's given us an extra 10 hectares of grapes, but it was all Cab. So that's given us and Cab's terrific. It grows well here, like it speaks for itself. But Even with that, the reality of a wine industry is we're still oversupplied. So we've got to, even though the area can grow a bloody nice red grape, we have to, if we're going to go ourselves into our own marketing and a cellar door, that's the vision, rather than just selling bulk to bigger wineries, then we've got to get a bit of variety. So once again, not big plantings, not big of, like we might have an acre and a half of Touriga. We've probably got an acre and a half or 2 acres, maybe a hectare of Fiano. We've got a hectare of Grenache. And then the bit, the Nebbiolo and the Sangiovese, and a little bit of Barbera as well. And Riesling. We're trying to get a white that we know the Hilltops can grow a good red. Doesn't matter what it is, it'll grow a nice red, in my opinion. And I think a lot of people are starting to think that too. But we got to get a good white, and we just not quite.
Don't know what it is yet.
Yeah, we haven't worked out what it is. But Riesling, I feel. I don't know if you've heard of. You've probably heard of Mobley Park, Jason Brown. He's a fair grower in the region, and Chalkers, which Celine was when Celine was there, was making a nice wine. Both they're the only two who grow Riesling in the area, and both seem to get the odd good award for Riesling, which made me think maybe this area can grow Riesling. And
the Fiano too, I think, is a good one to be. We've been trying. Well, Alex Mackay from Collectors already making Fiano from our grapes.
Yeah.
Just one thing I picked up there. You were talking about smoke taint or smoke damage. Did you guys get some sort of impact from this last growing season?
100%, Ross. So we sell to all family. We sell to a mob of family small wineries. We used to go to the big mobs, but over the years we all sell to the family small wineries, no contract, nothing, just word of mouth, and it works so much better. The likes of Tim Kirk, Alex Mackay, the Cupids down at Cupids at Ulladulla, Two Figs on Shoalhaven Heads, Shane Bricker. That might be it, but anyway, they all said, look, mate, they took many ferments. We got that, that blasted thing, that smoke taint test done. I think that was more confusing than anything. But these people that we trust, who wouldn't, they said, we did many ferments, mate. No, you've got smoke taint, and they all pulled out. We didn't have a grape sold last year of this vintage till 2 weeks before, and then Calabria in Griffith paid not much, but they can do reverse osmosis, so they bought it. We made a loss, but it was better than a total loss. So but that's what we got smoke tainted, Ross.
We did make a Nebbiolo out of Xanthi. We got Xanthi Freeman locally to make a Neb because it was on the skins for such a short time. So we've got a 2020 rosé, and that's it.
Wow. Yeah, so many people were impacted. It's crazy. All from the south of Tasmania, from the previous vintage with those fires, all the way through. So it's just been, I think 2 years have been mental with COVID and all that kind of stuff. But I was really interested. Sorry, Cath. Please carry on.
Sorry, I just said the fires weren't even that close to us. We were quite shocked when we found out about the smoke taint damage. Anyway, sorry, enough smoke.
I was very interested to hear you talking about the alternate varieties. What are your thoughts on alternate and emerging varieties across Australia as we get impacted by climate change? Do you think this is something that we're going to see a lot more of? I mean, we've seen a lot more entries into the alternate and emerging classes, a lot more Grenache. We've started to see a lot more Touriga. I noticed that. I mean, Rutherglen, New England, a lot more Touriga coming in from them, and it's coming in as a dry red and also into the fortified styles. Fiano, Pinot Blanc, all those kind of things. What do you think for the country in general? Do you think that's going to be something that we see a lot more of?
I think Australia's still learning, regardless of climate change or not, what to grow, areas growing what's suitable to their area. And that's we're becoming more educated about that, and probably there's so much information you can access so easily, and people are open to experimenting with different things. And plus the drinking public is open to trying new things too. That's a big part of it.
Guys, what do you think it is about your unique location that makes such great fruit? And while you're discussing that, I'm going to pop up the map so people can get an idea of where you're located. So Sydney's on the right-hand margin, and there's Ballinaclash sort of 3/4 of the way across onto the left with the blue pin. What is it about this region that does this? Is it soil? Is it elevation? Is it the climate? What is it?
Want to talk about that?
Yeah, Ross. I think you filled it in all. Like I can remember when we first went into grapes, and I used to get mixed up whether Shiraz was white or red. That's how ignorant we were, back in the 95, in the mid 90s, and because what you touched on that question just before is, with the Italian varieties and the alternate varieties, I think our culture has is rapidly changing. We're so open to so much food. You only have to look at and wine. You only have to look at the amount of food shows that are on. Like when we were growing up, it was Homicide and Division 4, and now it's bloody food shows. There's just a million of them, and so our appetite for food and wine and dining and that is we're so much more open to trying what we can. So, like France and Italy France isn't the only place you grow wine, of course. There's so many. There's the Eastern Europeans, there's the Greeks, and we're all open to it. So the varieties will just keep flowing in. But getting back to, I was saying, I didn't even know what, whether Shiraz or white or red. What you're touching on is then that word terroir came up, and when I first heard that, I thought, what the bloody hell's this rubbish, But I've got to say, I think we have a terroir, as unique or as particular, and locative. What I can't quite get the right word, as some terroirs in Europe. They're absolutely distinctive, and you touched on all three of them. Ross, you're quite correct. Like the soil is a big thing. Now we've got a soil which the geologists are telling us, blew in over millions, tens of millions of years from the Great Red Centre, and the Palmer from the Gibson Desert, which is actually their native tongue language for the red soil, and the geologists must have during the studies, early in the century, adopted their language. The Nuttinjara tribe in the Gibson Desert, their word for the soil that they live on is Palmer. Now that soil is this Palmer that blew over in stages, deposited in places along the way for tens of thousands, if not millions of years, and then big winds came up and picked it up. And for some reason, all through the southwest slopes, we've got this Palmer, this beautiful red soil, loamy, well draining with a little bit of grit in it. And it's amazing that, of course, it blew in from the west, so it's more on the leeward side of the hills than the other side. And underneath that, we've got some pretty crappy bloody soil. But if you can get yourself on a bit of Palmer, you've got a nice. You're going to grow. You could plant a pin and grow a crowbar in it. It'll grow anything. But so the soil, the soil, Ross, is one thing. The elevation and the climate is another thing. I think it's for nice, we've been growing cherries here since the 1860s, since the gold rush. The Dalmatians brought it over, and they were cherry growers and they were grape growers. So they grew grapes up to the 1940s in young, and then of course you're the only plonkos drank it. So they eventually went out of that. But for some reason, the elevation is the right mix for certain fruits, and I believe grapes, certain varieties of grapes, but the ripening period isn't too short and the ripening period isn't too long, only for certain varieties. Obviously, you need a higher elevation for a beautiful Chardonnay or a crisp Pinot, but not necessarily either, but proving in the Yarra they can grow a bloody nice Pinot. But elevation has something to do with the amount of ripening, the slower ripening, but not too slow, so that we're still getting sugars and characteristics. The climate, 26 inches to 24 inches, with climate change, the good thing about climate change is they're going to say it's only going to get wetter if that's even happening. You know what I mean? So I don't think it's all disaster.
Getting back to the question about what is the distinctive terroir.
Yeah, well, I'm saying the rainfall, I'm saying the soil, I'm saying the elevation.
And the slow ripening, I think, too, just before the ripening period where we have those hot days but cooler nights, I think plays a big part in the intensity of the flavor.
I think you probably, what you said before, I think it's a terroir, Ross.
Yeah. And can you share with us some of your future plans? Is there something, bits and pieces you're working on in the wings that you're able to share with us? Is it work on the cellar door, or is it online presence? Tell us a bit about your future plans.
Yeah, I suppose our short-term dreams, middle-term dreams, and long-term dreams, they change daily.
And people say one thing and I'll say another.
But
it's on record now.
I think Cath touched on, it's taken us a while. I think more and more people are realising, especially primary producers, there's lots of things we can grow, but you're a mug if you don't start with the point that, well, can we sell it? Can we market it? And if we're doing our own marketing, that's a bloody big job. So I think it's, the way society's going, we can definitely, there's a big future in wine and all across the board, lower end wine, but top end wine. There's a big future in it. The setup we have here, with the pick your own, it lends itself to a cellar door anyway. So doing our own, face to face, ideally, rather than getting too big and wholesaling too much. So I think, I think we're thinking of the same thing.
I think our aim is to grow premium wines, I guess, to become more recognised, which comes down to our marketing, and winning trophies like this helps that a lot, I think.
Excellent. And guys, if you weren't in wine and fruit, Cath, you've already alluded to the fact that you were a teacher in a previous life, but if we put the teaching in the bucket and we put the fruit and wine in the bucket, what could you have both gone into, do you think? Painter,
20 years.
Sculptor.
So when I met Cath, I was a shearer. Sorry.
Yeah.
And Cath was a teacher.
You've gone through that. So I don't know. I mean, it's funny how even with what we're doing, when we started out, we were wholesale cherry farmers. And I guess we thought that was our future. We've actually, in hindsight, and only as I'm talking, I'm even thinking it, I think, and you don't stop to think about what you may be doing well, but what we have actually done well, I think, is we've been very flexible in our path, because a shearer and a teacher, then cherry farmers, which we thought that's what we were going to be, have now gone from wholesaling cherries to growing all these different things, including grapes, and now producing premium wines. We have, we cook, I do the food for the platters. We've actually gone down this path that wasn't planned at all. We've become like you alluded to too, as a destination. Instead of just being farmers, not just farmers, because I have the highest respect for farmers, but as well as being farmers, we've now gone in this whole tourism mode as well, which has been a new thing. It's been a very steep learning curve, I guess, but trying to think what I would have done. I guess I can't actually think of anything else. I mean, we've got a lot to be thankful for, I think. And we're not stuck in a job that's in any way, I don't feel we're in a rut or anything. There's almost too much diversity.
That's the best way to be, I guess. Guys, can you share with us your best wine memories? It doesn't have to be a Ballinaclash memory. What's your favourite wine memory? And it might not even be a sober one, but that's up to you to tell me.
We actually had the privilege of going to Italy a couple of years ago, and Rosie Cupid had given us some amazing contacts from down at Cupid's Wines, and we stayed in Novello in Piemonte in a beautiful little place that they made the wine, and they were amazing cooks. And then Rosie also said, you just gave us a few little places to go and visit, and we were treated like royalty. And they took us in on these most amazing, those trips through there, and about, tasting their Barolo and just the knowledge they shared with us, and the passion for what they did, and the age of how long they've been doing it. How many generations was one of them?
I don't know, but
it was very special, and it made you think, well, our kids are involved. That's third generation. That's nothing, but that's a kind of a special thing to be part of something like that. And also for the whole, I don't know, I just think we're at a really good time in Hilltops, even though it's a lot of work. And some days, I wouldn't be as positive about it as I am right this second. But I think we are passionate about this area. Like, it's an exciting time to be in wine in the Hilltops region. There's great things happening, and there's a great group of, now we've got a little Hilltops wine group, and we meet and people share their information. It's a very, people are happy to, talk about what they do, and it's just a really great working group, even though we're all doing our own thing. That's an advantage of being small, I guess. But there's that sort of feeling of we're on a bouncing board ready to leap off, and we've been on it for a while, but we're at the stage where, hopefully in our lifetime we'll get to bound ahead, and Hilltops will be, and we'll be a part of that. So it's good.
Sounds exciting. Sounds very exciting.
Yeah, it is exciting.
Tell me, when you're in the car, you're leaving the cellar door and you're driving into Young, what's playing on the radio? What are you listening to? What's your musical taste?
Well, I in cherry time, I actually listen to silence, because it's the only time I get it if I'm in the car by myself, and it's absolutely blissful. It's a very short drive. But I did go to Wagga the other day. I had to go to Wagga, and I was by myself, and I did turn up the radio, and I put on, it was a 70s list, and it was fantastic. I sang the whole 2 hours along with Joni Mitchell and Paul Simon and Bruce Springsteen, Van Morrison, James Taylor, Carly Simon, Carole King. I did the works at the top of my voice.
Was it the Graceland album from Paul Simon, or was it one of his other ones?
Yes. And the other one, even older, the one I kept going back to was Slip Sliding Away for some reason. I don't know whether I was having a moment, but it was, I'd forgotten about that song. It's great. Everyone should go home and listen to it. What about you, Pete?
Oh, we're very similar. I love Reg Lindsay, Slim Dusty, Reg Poole, Charlie Fry.
That's right. So we travel in separate vehicles.
I like music. I also like to listen to gospel commentaries.
But that's not music.
I thought what we're listening to on the radio.
Oh, yeah. No, fair enough.
Whatever you're listening to is fine.
I like the gospel commentaries of the day.
Very good. Guys, let's put a wrap on.
Good. Sorry, Ross.
Let's put a wrap on. Tell me, where do we go to buy this beautiful wine? On your website?
Yeah, so we've got an online shop. That's probably the easiest for most people, unless you live fairly locally. Some of our wines are in restaurants. It's only usually if they ring us and say, again, it's back to the old marketing thing. But we don't make big quantities. That's the other thing, which we will probably, hopefully, increase those over the years. I guess that's something we want to do. But online shop is your best bet. Yep.
So ballinaclash.com.au, socials, Ballinaclash Wines and Fruit with the little and on Facebook, Ballinaclash New South Wales on Instagram. Be sure to check in and follow these guys. Ballinaclash.com.au. Is there a subscription? Do you gather contacts yet on the website?
We do have a subscription, and we send out a seasonal newsletter, so you will not be inundated with newsletters, I can assure you.
There you go.
And we'll just get the old update. And yeah.
For the naive amongst us, i.e. me, what's the approximate travel time from Sydney out to your part of the world?
About 4 hours.
About a 4-hour drive. All right, so there you go. Ballinaclash, all the information on screen. It's a 4-hour drive from Sydney. It's just a weekend away. Book in your fruit, your stone cherry picking, your stone fruit picking, your cherry picking, and come and visit the cellar door, get a platter, have a look around. There's plenty of places. You're only, was it 10 minutes from Young, or not even 10 minutes from Young?
Not even 5 k's, yeah, not even.
Plenty of Airbnbs to be had in the region. Guys, thank you so much for joining us. It's been great having a chat. Please don't go. I'm just going to minimize you and put a wrap on. And massive congratulations. One of the biggest upsets in recent times. We're thrilled with this result with Tom. So thank you for making such a great wine for us. Anyway, have a great day and don't go anywhere.
Okay, thanks.
That's it for this episode, everyone. Please be sure to check out Ballinaclash. These guys are amazing. The wines are amazing. The fruit is amazing. The whole experience is amazing. And we're supporting regional tourism in New South Wales. Get out to see Young. Maybe make a week trip, on your way, go down to Orange, go down to Mudgee and just explore. But let's support all these small winemakers across the country. Please stay tuned for the next episode. We've got a few more trophy interviews to do this week. And there's plenty of information. So that's it for this episode. Stay safe and we'll talk soon.